Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Dublin's Small Business Webinar. Today we have a special Lunch and Learn webinar to talk about creating some successful social media for your business. My name is Taryn Gavigan-Boetzel. I am with the Office of Economic Development here at the City of Dublin. I am a special projects manager and I oversee all of the COVID-19 business recovery support programs. Along with me today, I also have Rhonda Franklin, who is our economic development management analyst. And then our man of the hour, Ryan Moran, he is our in-house social media expert, also known as communications analyst. He will be walking us through a whole bunch of tips and tricks and really great information that I'm confident will be super helpful to all of you. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping tips. We have turned off the chat. However, if anyone has any questions that they want to ask or more detail that they need on anything, feel free to use the Q&A feature in Zoom, and we will save all of the questions and follow up for the end of the webinar. Again, Ryan has a lot of great information to provide, so I want to make sure that everyone gets that download first. And then we are recording this webinar as well. So if for some reason you have to go or miss something, this video webinar will be available on the city's YouTube channel within the next week. So I will let our expert take it away to present all of his knowledge on successful social media.
All right. Thank you, Taryn. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So my name is Ryan Moran. I am a communications analyst for the City of Dublin. Basically, that means that it's kind of two-part. I manage the city's social media accounts, which includes the Dublin Wave, so 2 entities on a total of 7 platforms. And then in addition to that, I handle their digital media production. So everything from photography, videography, all those kind of good things. I'm on the communications team. And yeah, so that's a little bit of what I do around here. In the digital space, social media arena, if you will, I've worked on everything from NCAA sports to professional sports to news to now government. So I've learned and manage like a travel blog. So I've dipped into a lot of different things. And one thing that has remained constant is that social media and social media marketing specifically is an ever-changing landscape. It flips a lot, and like things that worked for engagement around the time when I first started may not work anymore. Things that may have worked a year ago may not work anymore. But there are, as of January this year, there are 4 billion active social media users across all of the platforms. So that's 50% of the globe. Yes, it changes a lot, but it's not going anywhere. And right now, adults are on social media more than ever. They're averaging 95 minutes a day on social media. And despite recent changes to Facebook and the resulting doom and gloom with organic posts not going anywhere, 93% of marketers are still utilizing Facebook. So it's still very important, definitely still has a prominent role. And we will talk more about Facebook a little bit later. And to get things started, I want to kind of just outline some of the foundation of social media marketing. These are kind of the cornerstones. And first up, optimizing your profile. It should be complete and accurate. There should be a very clear call to action, whether that's a learn more button that takes people directly to your website, or maybe it's just your website pasted in there. But the descriptions, the about, all that stuff needs to be filled out for a few reasons. It looks more complete and professional, and it's going to be better received from the people who visit your page. But it's also an opportunity to show up in Google searches. How many times have you Googled something and in the results, you'll see it linked to a Facebook page or profile or something like that. It's a great opportunity to get more exposure online. And really, like, that kind of highlights, with the call to action type deal, it really kind of highlights one of the huge benefits of social media. It's great for business in the sense that it's just another opportunity to get people to your own platforms, right? So my previous role in news, everything was prioritized around click-through. We don't make any money when they're on social media. Get them to our website. So social media is great for recruiting people to your platforms that you own. Creating and posting content, kind of a given in order to participate in this, and engaging with your audience. This is important. People are much more likely to make a purchase from a brand that they follow, and engagement will help increase your discoverability. If you're engaging with people and people are reacting, it's going to help build trust. And they're going to probably share, if it's a product they like, they're going to share that. They're going to share it in direct messages. They're going to share it to their story. They're going to tag their friends in it. So engaging with your audience, creating that kind of human connection is really going to help. Additionally, advertising your page or product. I hope by the end of all this, you guys will all have a stronger grasp on what that takes. And then lastly, using analytics. Sprout Social, HubSpot, nothing that the city endorses, but those are some of the analytic programs, Google Analytics. But the cool thing is most of the platforms, they have built-in analytics. You can check the insights right there, and we'll get a little bit more into that later. But in general, my guess is that most of you have to wear many hats, and you've probably had to pivot a lot recently. And so in case you've questioned whether or not your focus and your attention should be going to social media, let me remind you, it's valuable for businesses of all sizes. Finding and connecting with your customers on the variety of platforms that are available will have an impact on sales. But thankfully, you don't need to focus your energy on every single platform, which we'll get more into. So you know nothing about social media, or maybe you kind of just been winging it and you'd like to reinvent your strategy a little bit more. Where the heck do you start? First off, it's best to start with a plan. What is your goal on social media? Are you just kind of lollygagging through it, or do you want it to actually achieve something? Do you want to be able to sell something directly with like Instagram's shopping features? Do you want to use it to recruit people just to come to your website, or maybe build out your newsletter subscriber list, or just be more discoverable, like I mentioned in certain Google searches? Or maybe you're just out there to accumulate likes and, you know, build a larger online community. But being able to really identify what you're hoping to get out of it is very helpful. And then you should consume the platform that you're considering. If you're interested in advancing your social media efforts to Instagram, you should have that app, and you should be consuming it regularly, because that is going to help you identify what's working and scope out some of your competitors, some of the industry leaders surrounding whatever it is that you're bringing to the table. When you consume that, it's really going to help you figure out what platform specific content is. And then I already mentioned engaging with your audience, but clarifying who you're going to reach is super important, because it's going to help you it's going to help you direct your mental energy a lot more. Because like the demographics on social media, these aren't hidden figures. It's very easy to figure out, to look into like what is the predominant age group on this platform. So being able to identify that is going to help you direct your efforts. And then I mentioned you're finding your competitors, but study what they're doing, learn from their mistakes. You guys have the same audience, so see what they're doing well, and then try to take it to a different level and pick up on maybe what's not working for them, and use that, fold that into your strategy. And then lastly, to plan or kind of analyze the type of content you want to produce. Now, I don't mean that if you're interested, if you think you're going to mostly post photos and graphics, that's all you can do. I mean that at the start, utilize, like, have an idea of, okay, for example, maybe you have no resource or no video experience at all, but you know video is hot right now, and you know that YouTube is the largest video platform and the second largest search engine, but you've never done video before. So video is very resource heavy. So maybe instead of diving straight to YouTube, You go to somewhere like Instagram where it has photos and video, and you can start, working your video work into your Instagram strategy. That way, when it comes time to advance onto YouTube, you'll have a little bit better of an idea. YouTube's huge and the opportunities to spread there are big. But it's a good idea to know what you have at your disposal immediately, and then finding the platforms that best accentuate that. So, okay, so what's the best platforms for your business? It's quite simply, the best platform is wherever your target audience is. And like I mentioned before, these aren't hidden figures. You can discover these and you can look at them. Directing your attention right to the age group of Facebook, you will see that it's an older population. The millennials and Gen Z they're fading out in terms of, they're still there, just not as much. That kind of started with Instagram and it really kind of kicked off with TikTok. But it still has more monthly average users than any of the other social platforms. It's still the top dog when it comes to social media. So the types of content that you'll see on there is photos, any kind of stuff where you're sharing links or news stories, live video, and just generally getting information out about your business. A big one right here, there are 80 million small business pages on Facebook. So it's still being utilized at a high rate. YouTube, I've mentioned a little bit before about that. I mentioned it's the second most visited website. If you have the resources to do it, YouTube is a great space. And part of the reason why is it hits everyone. It has a really strong user base across all groups. I mean, it's even like over 50, over 65, under 25, it's pretty close, but the highest reach is in that 15 to 35 range. But YouTube isn't one where I would worry too much about the age group, because it's really kind of neck and neck. Instagram and TikTok are, it goes from Instagram's got a kind of a younger audience, and then like Snapchat and TikTok are even below that. Instagram is predominantly millennials and Gen Z. So there's been conversations with TikTok, Instagram Reels probably didn't do as well as they still did well, but they probably didn't do as well as they would have if not for TikTok. Nevertheless, between 2018 and 2021, Instagram doubled their monthly user base from 1 billion to 2 billion. So there's still a lot of opportunity on there, a lot. And the great thing about Instagram is the engagement rate is much higher, like for instance, than Facebook, 81% compared to 8%. And what that translates to is you still have an opportunity to have some organic reach with your content, which is nice because Instagram ads are a little more expensive than Facebook. Now, TikTok is all the rage right now. As you can see with this age group, it's predominantly the younger crowd. Only 11% of people that are on there are over 50. A huge portion are under 30, and a quarter of them are teens and preteens. So if your brand appeals to that, go for it. I mean, it's averaging more daily minutes than any other platform right now. It's average people who use TikTok stay on it for an average of 38 minutes per day. It's had huge growth recently, and that means that if it folds into your strategy, you have an opportunity to go big on there. While staying within brand, right? You don't want, like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to just jump on some kind of fleeting trend just because you think it'll get more views on it. You want what's best for your brand. And if TikTok folds into that, you should definitely look into it. I will say that since TikTok has been out, the roles that I've been in since then, it just didn't make sense. It's not where our audience was. And so taking on another platform, like I mentioned, even me doing it for years, I'm only one person. It's easy for me to spread myself thin. And so taking on a whole new platform is not as simple as just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like, it requires a lot of planning. So that being said, if it does work, if you do think it'll work for you, it's definitely something to explore. But do, like I mentioned earlier, take some time to just consume it. Hop on it and create a profile so you can snag the name that you want, and then just consume it for like a month or two and just kind of really get a feel for it. Snapchat still kicking, man. Like I don't use Snapchat personally. I haven't in a little while, but in terms of contributing to it. But what Snapchat is really good for, even if you're not going to put stuff on it of your own, it's great for trend spotting. It's a lighter or younger crowd. It's more lighthearted, silly content that a lot of it's focused on trends. So you can go on there with no intention of really posting anything and just kind of keep up with what kind of trends are going on with the younger crowd. If that is something that you think will help you. LinkedIn, I'll move through these next two a little quicker. LinkedIn has maintained itself as the go-to professional network since it came out. And the parts where it could help benefit you guys, or the facts to know that can maybe be of interest to you, is ad revenue grew tremendously in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic. People realized that knowing LinkedIn houses the highest earners and most educated folks on social media, now they're flocking there because they need to find work or they're looking for new work. And so a lot more brands and companies were investing time or investing their money into producing ads for LinkedIn. So, and there is a social component there. The types of content that you'll see, long form type stuff, content that flexes your core values, that shows, the brand that has integrity and honesty and stuff like that. And so those are some of the good, some of the stuff that you would see with LinkedIn. Twitter, out of all of these, has the lowest amount of monthly average users. That's where you're going to get a lot of your news in real time, posts that spark discussion, stuff like that. The majority of the age group is between 18 and 29. And ads are a little tricky on Twitter. I've never really had tremendous success with them. And it is expected. The other platforms have really kind of taken off, the ones that are more visual and creative. And so it's expected to lose close to 1 million users over the next 5 years to other platforms. So that's something to consider. Okay, less can be more. When I say less can be more, I don't mean post once a month versus multiple times per week. What I mean is don't overwhelm yourself with trying to be on every single platform all at once. If you stretch yourself too thin and your engagement and your customer experiences suffer, your business could suffer. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself because you want to be strategic. You want to be posting regularly, and it makes it much harder to do that if you're spread across 5 or 6 platforms. Pick a couple to do really well. It's Facebook or Instagram and TikTok are pretty much recognized as the current priority platforms for businesses right now, in addition to Facebook. So it's a good idea to in my opinion, my recommendation is to always have Facebook there, just because it's the possibilities with throwing just a little bit of money at it. You can get a lot of extra eyes on some of your stuff. And so I think it is important to continue to have Facebook around, but then choose maybe one other platform or two, if you want to take that on, that you'll also have your target audience in addition to Facebook, and really kind of focus on how that platform works versus, trying to be on all of these, because then it just becomes unmanageable, especially if you're a one-man band. So paid and organic, to buy or not to buy. Notice that I didn't put paid versus organic. The short answer is you should do both. A Titleist golf driver and a putter. Those are two great pieces of equipment, and you need them both if you're going to go golfing, but they serve totally different purposes. So find a way to fold them both in. And some ideas, or some of the instances when you might be posting organically or producing organic ads, is when you're maintaining a connection with your current audience, the people that are already following and are already engaging. You can organically massage that relationship. You don't necessarily need to throw money at that. Live video is prioritized pretty heavy right now by the algorithms. You don't need to waste your money on those. And then organic posts help establish credibility in terms of people are at a much higher rate likely to engage or to make a purchase or to engage and receive an ad much better if it follows an organic post. So if all you're doing is peppering people with ads, they're going to be like, next, next, next. But if you're mixing that up to where you're posting organically and then you're, sprinkling some ads in there, people are going to be much more interested in that. And then, your customer service, that's organic. Now, in terms of paid, anytime you've created what you believe based on, the market research that you've done, when you've created something that you think is highly shareable or highly engaging, throw some money at it. It doesn't have to break the bank. And I'm going to show you an example in just a sec on how just a little bit can help. Additionally, if you're trying to reach a new audience, or if you're trying to reach a higher volume of your target audience, you could throw some money at some ads, run them for a month, run them for 2 weeks. You can also run ads just to recruit people to your profile. You know what I mean? Like just, come up with a snappy caption, a good image, and just invite people to come check you out. And then lastly, you can use paid marketing to retarget audiences that have previously engaged with your post or your profile. And then I'm going to have to take this down real quick to show you guys this example. Here we go. So, okay. Taryn, if for some reason you guys can't see that, just let me know. But
nope, you're all good.
Okay. So this is a video I made towards the end of May ahead of the wave opening up. And it took some work, like I put some time into it. I put some thought into it. And we posted it on Facebook. We posted it on Instagram. And the next morning, the Facebook post had, it was pitiful. Like it had, I think 5 likes, 1 share. The engagements were less than 300 and the views were less than 300. And so I reached out to the recreation manager over there and was like, hey, do you have anything in your budget? $100 just to throw a little bit at this. I know this is content that people are going to engage with. People are going to share it. People are going to want to tell their friends like, oh, the wave is opening up in a couple of days. This is their reminder. It's important to know that right now it's generally accepted that organic posts on Facebook will reach about 5% of your audience. So, that's not enough. So the next morning I talked to the recreation manager and we decided to throw $100 at it over, I think it was over 6 days. Yeah, over 6 days. I mentioned what those sad numbers were before. Just with $100, these are some of the results that we got. It reached over 21,000 people. There was, 4,900 engagements. And one of the biggest metrics that is important to look at is 1,600 people clicked this link right here that brought them to our website. Now, I don't know exactly how many of those ended up buying tickets, but imagine if even 10%, 20% of those were customers of yours that are now looking at your products or now, now subscribed to your newsletter or whatever it may be. That's a lot. And so when I say to give yourself a boost and develop a paid marketing plan for your Facebook approach, it doesn't have to be a ton. Maybe you're posting 4 posts a week, 3 posts a week, something like that, 5 posts, and you boost one of them. The one that you think is the most shareable, you're throwing $100 at that. If $400 a month is bringing, X amount of people to your website, it's probably worth the investment. So I'm going to jump back. Okay, so moving on, some useful tools. So these are just a few of them that I have found helpful in my evolution as a social media manager. These are visual platforms, and you can give yourself an upper hand without having to go to school, without having to become a professional photographer. Fortunately, quality cameras are in most people's pockets these days. Now, if you're taking big, wide landscape shots, you probably want to invest in something a little more high tech. Or if you're, if your products, if you have products that you're unveiling a lot, or maybe your Instagram is devoted to just product revealing, you would probably want to invest in something that has like a macro lens that's going to give you a much better, amplification of whatever your subject is. And so the first two kind of fold into each other. I will share that I use a camera and I edit every day, every week now for my job. And I was a hobby photographer before this. I've worked in digital for a long time, but I bought my first Sony mirrorless camera in 2018 to document my travels a little more. And I fell in love with it. And the camera, the editing, all of that came from YouTube, all of it. Like I've since sourced some people that are, up a little higher in terms of experience than I am in the industry for some tips and stuff like that. And I worked with a lot of editors when I was in news at KTVU. And so, I had people that I could tap on their shoulder, but majority of what I learned was all on YouTube, and it doesn't require a bunch of hours. So like I said, product photography is, I know nothing about it, but there are a wealth of tutorials that you could check out on product photography or whatever it may be that, a couple hours will let you, you'll learn things like the rule of thirds. You'll learn how to like use lighting to your advantage. And it doesn't necessarily take a ton of time to learn. The application process will take a little while in terms of like reaching a level, but even just investing that little bit of time in it could really help, give yourself an upper hand on these visual platforms. And then a light, if you're doing a lot, if you're going live a lot, then you should have some kind of good lighting. And if you are, if you think that your social media efforts will, translate to video conferencing calls, which is very common these days, then you'll want to be well lit. So, I could go on and on about some other tools, but those are some of the things that have really helped me. And then a few of the basics of posting. And if anybody wants to really dial it down to like the very like me physically showing you, just reach out and we can provide some kind of documentation or something that shows you exactly how to post. But these are some of the things that are going to overall help your posting efforts. Optimizing your post, your image, your video, your captions is crucial. When it comes to photos and videos, if you spent time editing it and then you post it and it's like a giant photo that's not optimized for the allowed aspect ratio and resolution, the platform is going to change it to fit their style, what they allow. And so what that means, if the picture is if it's larger than they allow, they're going to compress it. If it's smaller, they're going to stretch it. So if you've spent a bunch of time, creating a fun graphic using one of the tools I'm going to talk about in a minute, like Canva or something like that, and you didn't fit it, you didn't optimize it to where it fits their standards, they're going to do that themselves. So if you want to keep it simple and you don't want to get into like, maybe you're creating graphics that are going on a couple different places, generally an image with a width of 1,000 to 1,200 pixels is going to fit and display well almost everywhere. So that's something to keep in mind. And then very important to keep in mind the mobile experience. This is something that I have to consciously remind myself. I do almost everything from my desktop. We use a scheduling platform that helps me, navigate those 7 platforms that I was talking about. But the way that they display on desktop is not the way that they display on mobile. And so, like, for example, vertical video is being prioritized a lot by the algorithms on Instagram and TikTok especially, but even on Facebook right now. And so a video that I may optimize for like 4:5 and like a portrait mode type deal looks great on my cell phone, but when I pull it up on the desktop, it's got the black bars on the side, which is not the best user experience, not the best viewing experience. So when in doubt, optimize for mobile. And some of you may be doing all your work from your phone. So if that's the case, then just continue to do that. But if you're going back and forth between desktop and mobile, pay attention to how it's displaying on mobile. And then strategic posting times. Don't post when people aren't online, unless, maybe part of your audience is international. And so the time difference, it benefits you to post at kind of odd hours. But in general, I would start with the hours in which people are consuming most, which is generally in the evenings before working hours and in the evenings after working hours. There's usually a spike around lunchtime, but once you've dedicated, time to a particular platform and you've built up some traction, you can actually check in the insights, and they'll tell you when your followers are on and most active. And then post then. Meet them where they are. There's no reason why you would want to post at 11 a.m. if nobody's on. And then tagging relevant accounts is a great way to have other people help get your name out, potentially. And if they see it, that they were tagged in something that works for them to share, they're going to probably share it to your story. And really, you could take that one step further by, if you already have a relationship with a relevant account, or you're interested in building one, reach out to them ahead of time and let them know, hey, I got a post coming out at 5 tonight. It's relevant. I'm going to tag you in it if you can. You can comment on it and share it, something like that, and kind of build some kind of mutual relationship where you guys are kind of helping amplify each other's content. That can be very beneficial. Geotagging, it's not just to let people know where you're at. It will put your photo or your video or something. It has the opportunity for other people to discover it while searching those locations. And for example, when I'm traveling and I'm out with my camera, if I didn't have time to scout ahead of time and do some of my own research, my go-to is to go to the Instagram Discover page, the search page, and search for that city that I'm in, or that town, or the neighborhood, or whatever. And what you're going to get is a bunch of photos that are all geotagged to that place. People do stuff like that when they're going to seek out somewhere, a city that they're visiting, or a city they're going to eat in, or anything like that. They'll go to social media and they'll plug that in. So that's just another opportunity to get some more eyes on your stuff. And then hashtags, I put strategically in there because hashtags can be great. My favorite time to use them is if it's for like a branded type hashtag, or if it's attached to some kind of a campaign where you want to be able to conveniently group them all together so that somebody could follow them all. Or if it's attached to some kind of larger initiative that can help maybe get some new eyes on your stuff. But it is important to don't just hashtag to hashtag, because when people click on that, it's bringing them to somewhere that's not yours, unless it's attached to like a branded hashtag or a hashtag that works into a campaign. So a couple of these resources that are great that I use, they're not, the city does not endorse any of these, but they could be helpful for you. There's a ton of other ones, but Canva is a very user-friendly graphic design interface that it's very user-friendly. Like you can create some stuff fairly quickly. And it looks clean. They look nice, and it's free. If you want access to more of the photo and video elements, you will have to pay a little bit for it, but it is free off the top. And then Hootsuite, that's what we personally use. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I could potentially show you guys a demo of that if you wanted to take a look at that. That's what we use for all of our scheduling. It's really, really convenient, and it's fat. Like it's a great way to get on there. The downside to that is there's certain features that you can't do on there. Like they just started allowing you to be able to post multiple images to Instagram. You couldn't do that for the longest time. And so like if you wanted to do a carousel of like an event, for me, like if I was covering an event and I wanted to do a carousel of images, I would have to go post that on the platform itself. And then Sprout Social, I don't personally use this one as much. It's very similar to Hootsuite. The only addition to it is it has a customer relationship management tool built right in. So you can manage your social media content and all of your customer interactions all in one place. Okay, this is the last slide I'm going to give you guys. And who uses corded headphones anymore? Just ripped them out of my ear.
I do.
My AirPods died right before this. So a couple things that can maybe help you for the content you're producing. Prioritize authenticity over virality. People are going to, well, first off, it's much more sustainable. Instead of chasing the latest fleeting trend, find ways to present your authentic self. And if that folds into a trend, then utilize that. But don't go around just chasing viral, trying to create the next viral video, because that doesn't necessarily mean that those are going to become customers. Just because it's blowing up on the other side of the country, amongst a certain population, doesn't mean that's going to be great for your business. But if your brand, if your audience feels like you're authentic, and they're going to have a much better, the chances of them trusting you and being willing to purchase things from you. I mean, people are much more likely to make a purchase from a brand that they already follow. And if you're presenting your authentic self, in my opinion, that relationship is going to continue. So that's one of my tips. And then pay attention to trends. I mentioned the video thing in terms of it being very resource heavy, but it being very big right now. It's the preferred way to consume social media and just internet content in general right now. So, but the cool thing is it doesn't mean you have to be on YouTube in order to kind of bubble off that trend. Because like I mentioned, Instagram it used to be just photos, but it is tons of stuff to do with video now. I mean, Instagram Reels, that turns, you can easily become a video editor with it. Like I may not have the smoothest transitions, but Reels turned everyone into kind of like a video creator, right? Like it's not that hard to just take a bunch of small clips and paste them all together. As you continue to do it, you can work on the flow of that and the transitions and whatnot, but it's there. It's there, and it's you don't have to flock just to YouTube for that. And then Facebook Messenger is fantastic for businesses. The chatbot feature is great. People, it folds into Facebook. People are already, if people are landing on your page and they're going to reach out, you can program that chatbot so that it responds to them and gives you a little bit of a breathing room before you get back to them. People like being met with those messages right away, and people are more likely to purchase from people where they can message back. A lot of people don't like phone calls these days. They like being able to come on into a brand social media page and shoot them a message and get a response. The problem is if you're spread out across a bunch of different things, or you're devoting an hour of your time to social media and then the rest of it is towards managing and maintaining your business, you can't be on there to respond to every single one. I often have to have my head down when I'm editing these big projects, so I carve out my time in the morning to respond to any kind of comments or notifications. But there tends to be a portion where like my eyes aren't on that immediately. But if you utilize that chatbot feature, it can really help you. And then creating shareable content. I showed you that example with the wave. If it's more shareable, it increases your chances of other people bringing it to their group, bringing it to their friends. That was the other thing I didn't talk about. I didn't show you in that example, is that there were no comments before I boosted it. After that, there were 64 comments, and almost every one of the comments were all of the comments were of people tagging somebody else. That's free marketing. Sometimes they're tagging like their whole crew. They're tagging like 5 or 6 people in it. So creating shareable content is a great way for other people to advertise your stuff. And then being consistent and posting regularly. It's important. You can't just, if you want to build and maintain that relationship, you can't just disappear for a little while. But have a good home life social media balance. That's you gotta be able to put the phone down sometimes. Behind the scenes, depending on what kind of work you're in, man, if you're getting ready to release a product, show the buildup, show some of the raw behind the stuff, behind the scenes footage. People are interested in seeing other people's process. Influencer marketing can be huge, and micro influencing marketing as well. It doesn't need to be, the top account on Instagram to share your stuff. But if you can build some kind of a relationship with somebody who believes in your product, or who maybe has some kind of vested interest in it, it's very likely that they're going to share your stuff or like place your product in some of their vlogs or something like that. There usually needs to be some kind of a mutually beneficial type relationship, but that could be as simple as like, here's a promo code for your followers, and if they come buy stuff from me, they get 15% off or something like that you could share with that influencer, so they're more incentivized to put your stuff out there. And then keep experimenting and keep creating. You can't, you won't know what people want until you give them stuff to engage with. And lastly, share your wins. Definitely share your wins. When you have good customer story to share it. Or if that was maybe it was a phone call with a customer that was great, and you ask them, hey man, that's a video right there. You think you can meet me? Can I borrow half an hour of your time and ask you a couple questions on a video? Turn that into a piece of content. And if you have a great review on Yelp, turn that into a post. Put that, and you can find creative ways to do that, or you can just share it directly to your story. Share those wins when you have them. So that is it for me. I really hope you guys got something out of this, and happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Ryan. That was like just so much great information. I'm sure everyone took at least 5 pieces away from it. I'll open the floor for any questions. If any of our attendees or those calling in have any questions to ask, now would be the time. I also want to remind everyone that, again, this is recorded, so we will have this on our YouTube channel for, as Ryan mentioned, sharing or posting, or, just future reference if there were some things that you may have missed. Also, if you think of something after the fact, I will go ahead and put in our economic development group email address if you guys have questions. Any questions can be asked via the Q&A in Zoom, not through the chat. The chat is disabled at the moment, but through the Q&A, you can go ahead and submit any questions, and I'll be able to field them from there. While you guys are getting your questions together, I did want to mention that the city's Office of Economic Development Department does have some other webinars that we're putting together for the future, and some events centered around, continued business recovery as we kind of get through this weird environment that we're in right now. Right now, we have text message communications from the Office of Economic Development, as well as a newsletter. It's kind of in 2 parts. We have our Dublin Business Brief, which comes out every other month, just kind of highlighting business happenings within the city. And then we also have occasional business recovery issues, which is more COVID-19 pandemic related, any updates or business support that might come through there. I will go ahead and share the website address to sign up for both of those communications if you guys are interested. It's just a really great way to not only keep up on what's coming out of the city, but the text messaging specifically is 2-way. You can get in touch with us that way too. As Ryan said, not everyone likes to be on the phone or talk to people or even have time for that. So shoot a quick text message to us, and we're happy to get back to you that way. I also wanted to mention that, again, in addition to some more webinars like this that we'll be rolling out in the future, we are working on a Taste the World in Dublin, California event, specifically centered around our food and beverage establishments. This will be an opportunity over the end of summer and into the fall for our food and beverage establishments to get some outreach, provide some incentives to get people to come into their businesses and engage. It'll be sort of a fun passport event, check-in process where people can get prizes in the form of gift cards given by the city. They'll be incentivized to visit your guys' restaurants and check in. So more information to be shared on that later. I do have one question, Ryan. Let's see, what if you have more than one business or organization using the same page, but they have different hours? They share a Facebook page because of low use views, so probably trying to, condense all of the audience. How do you recommend listing each of their contact info and phone numbers?
I think first and foremost, I would do some searching of your own. Like, in terms of my concern about that would be if somebody's looking for, one of your businesses and they come on there and search and then it doesn't come up type of thing. I don't know if if like if they're both worked into the same name, the same profile name, but in general, I would suggest having two different ones, just because I feel like you don't really want, if you spent the time that you have to create this business, like you don't really want to leave any holes in terms of where people can find you. You want to make that process pretty easy. And if they're having to be like, oh, this page is about webcams, and then they dig down in the description and they're like, oh, actually, it's also about their microphone business as well. Like you may miss the opportunity. You may miss the opportunity of them finding what they're looking for. I don't know if that answers it or not, but I'm a big proponent of making sure that there's not that the user experience is sound, and that people aren't reading your post or they're not reading your profile and they're not leaving with questions on where to find the information. So if you are going to share them both, then whatever convenient way you can find, maybe if you can't list it directly, you're putting it in the description. But then again, I feel like that kind of starts to mess with the user experience. So if it's feasible to create its own, then I would recommend doing that.
And kind of going back to what you were saying about, if there's, I don't know if the businesses are related or if they have anything to do with each other, but if there's sort of a common theme or a marriage, or the businesses do associate, of that sharing, right? Having two separate business profiles, but kind of sharing back and forth to get that audience engagement. Definitely. And having people go back and forth.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And then another question, is there any advice on experience on how to get local news coverage via your social media posts? You're the right person for that, right?
Yeah. Via your I mean, tag them when you think that something is newsworthy. But in my opinion, I think if you're looking at local news, the digital teams at local news, I know them personally, they're very stretched thin, and they are tagged in so much stuff throughout the day that you have a better chance of call the assignment desk or email newstips@fox.com. Like that's the KTVU news tips line. That's going to land in the inbox of the assignment desk editor. That's the person that assigns all of the stories that go out to reporters, and all that information gets relayed to digital, and they kind of will use that to kind of manage their time and their efforts. So my opinion is, if you think you have something that's newsworthy, either send it to News Tips or call the assignment desk, because digital teams are really stretched thin. When I worked at KTVU, TweetDeck was open constantly. And the mentions were just spinning. Like there's a lot of people in the Bay Area, and there's a lot of news all the time. And so things are getting tagged. And honestly, it's in addition to all that, the staff sizes are shrinking. So what they're able to cover is dramatically less than what they were previously. And with digital, there's just so much, such a flood of information that it's best to try to get it. I would either email or call.
That's awesome. Thank you. Great question and great answer. I never would have thought of that. Awesome. Those are the end of our questions. I just realized that earlier I shared the link to our business communication sign up, but didn't share it with everyone. So I will be sending that to everyone right now. There we go. I also wanted to give Rhonda a moment to just speak a little bit about our economic development business concierge services for any existing businesses in the city, but also new businesses that may be considering finding a place in the community.
Yeah, thank you, Taryn. This has been a great webinar. A lot of great information shared. And I also wanted to share some of the other services that we offer here at Dublin in the Office of Economic Development. Our Business Concierge program, where we help new businesses or either existing businesses with their site selection and development. We can help you look at different sites in the city, ones that have the requirements that you need. So whether if you need to upsize or downsize or you're brand new, feel free to contact us and we can take a look at what's available in the city. and then provide that information to you. We also provide support in terms of trying to boost the promotion of your company. We have a lot of businesses that when they are just opening, we share that information on our social media. So we try to do our part in supporting you and getting your business known to our community. And then we also provide a lot of connections to resources, such as demographic information or some other financial information that you may need, or financial partners or other partners that can help you be a very successful business. And then we provide quite a few incentives, which I know a lot of businesses have taken advantage of. One of the incentives that we provide is something like a commercial facade improvement grant, where we help you refurbish the way your business looks on the outside, the exterior portion of your building. So please contact us. We have a lot of incentives where we try to help our businesses be very successful here in Dublin. So any questions that you may have about what we offer, please give us a call back and we can provide some information to you. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thanks, Taryn.
Thank you, Rhonda. And again, I put that email address for the Economic Development Group in the chat. And all of that information will also be linked with the webinar when we post it later. I would love to thank Mr. Ryan Moran for his time and expertise. I know I learned a whole bunch, and I'm confident our business community did too. So thank you so much, Ryan, for
My pleasure. My pleasure.
sharing
Thanks
all
for
of that
having
with
me.
us. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Rhonda, for your support and information. Again, like Rhonda said, reach out to us. We are here to help however we can. And we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.